Hi, good morning, and welcome to the SenseItAll webinar. So we like to do the SenseItAll webinar once a week, and it's really just having an ongoing discussion and a Q&A with users and potential users of the SenseItAll platform. So let me jump straight into it and just say that this week we're kind of discussing broadly themes of soil carbon capture, soil nutrients, and soil pH. So let me go a little bit faster into it. I just want to say I do have, this is an extension of last week's webinar, and there will be new material if you've already seen last week's webinar. So today is the 4th of December. We tried to do these approximately at 8 a.m. London time, but we sort of mix up the times a little bit just to kind of fit in all the meetings that we do have. So the SenseItAll platform is a multimodal. What I mean by that is there's multiple ways of getting data into the SenseItAll platform. The SenseItAll platform is a platform that ZP provides, but it's really to help academics, entrepreneurs, engineers, developers get chemical, biochemical and biological data into the cloud. So there's one way into it, which is the spectrochemical OEM platform, which means original equipment manufacturer. There's the electrochemical platform, which is what I'm going to be discussing today, this kind of handheld point of need, point of care, IVD. These are different in vitro diagnostics, that is, different terms for really just saying I need to test something here and now. We also have our wearable platform, so something that, for example, the classical wearable would be continuous glucose monitoring. So that's also in the platform as well. As I say, today's talking about soil carbon capture, soil health, and soil nutrient monitoring. And so we have our kind of platform. This is the electrochemical one. Now, I'm not gonna, you'll see this come up a few times today as well, but we have a nitrate sensor for this. We have a phosphate, potassium, pH, ammonium, urea, and calcium. We are talking about point of need testing rather than being in the soil and continuously monitoring. If that's what you're interested in, then please contact ZP, but also know that those are very tough programs. And so in this particular conversation I'm having today with this particular inquirer, we're not talking about that. I'd rather focus on the discrete measurement. So we do have the SenseItAll platform. It looks pretty nice. It's got a series of LEDs on it that really give a really kind of guided user experience. So kind of when you power it on, it's white. When you made Bluetooth connection with it, with your smartphone, and that app will come up in a bit, the LED goes blue. When you're running the assay, it goes green, or it flashes green, and when the assay is uploaded to the cloud, it goes green. So you get a very nice guided user experience. I'm sure the user, in this particular case, or the potential user has signed up, but if you've come along to this webinar today, just know that on the 13th of December, we have two webinars, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. This is European time. And the reason we have these two webinars is so that we can include people from Asia, we can include Europe, but we can also include USA as well. And of course, Africa is directly in line with Europe. So we can cover all the sort of major continents, let's say. Don't forget, we also have, if you're interested in kind of sensing and biosensing, we are having a conference in June in the UK, and I'll put a link underneath that as well. So if lots of what I talk about today, if you're trying to find out more later on, go underneath the video and you should be able to find more information then. Going forward at a rapid pace, again, if you're interested in kind of at least getting a first grip on this SenseItAll platform, then scan this QR code. You'll find that there is an app on the Google Play Store, and that app will then, if you scan these codes after you've installed that, you will find that you're able to click between different assays, and that does reflect this term SenseItAll. Kind of the name says what it does. It actually works with quite a few of our sensors. I've extended some material that I gave last week on this. That the SenseItAll platform is a kind of point of need, I need to know now kind of application. So you take the sensor, you take the hardware, you take the app. The sensor talks to the app, it gives the data back to the app gives the data up to our cloud system called Julie. Don't worry, the data is not just stored on there, you can download it from there, or you can actually pull it across using an API as well, an application program interface. You can get the result there and then on the phone. Come along to the webinar on the 13th and you'll definitely see that happening. But more powerfully as well, that the raw data is all up in the cloud. So you can kind of interrogate that raw data, but more importantly, you can share it as well. So I'll talk about Julie a little bit more now. That Julie is the back end to this. Julie is a data management system that's really tuned up for dealing with electrochemical biosensors and electrochemical sensors, which the pH sensor is a version of. It's good for data storage, it's good for data visualization, it's good for data processing, and it's also part of our data acquisition system, and has what's called an API, an application program interface. So in the future, more and more people are already familiar with APIs, but it will become, API is the kind of the technology glue that makes all these different services and systems that we all rely on these days stick together. So even if it's not familiar to you today, through your careers, API, application program interface, will be a term, an acronym that will kind of just be part of life, and so it is already part of life, but it'll be more apparent. The nice thing about Julie is that Julie answers the question, where is my data? What does my data look like? But it also answers the question, it also allows you to actually share the data, and it actually becomes a lot more powerful then. So if people are asking you, what does the data look like? You don't have to individually kind of process that data. It actually turns the raw data into a visual, and then you can share it with others, and others can share it, can look at it. And the more people you have sometimes looking at your data, more stakeholders, the more valuable your data is as well. I did put this slide up last week, so I'm not going to over discuss it this week, but it's just to say, one of the videos here shows the really nice mechanical aspects. If you spill soil onto the hardware here, you will find out in the video that actually we're able to dismantle it, clean it, and put the device back together. One of the videos with our engineer, she's there demonstrating how she can put a sample on there, run the assay. The assay then is transferred, and the only reason she's got the laptop there is then she can actually demonstrate that within the video, within the span of the video, the data's already on the cloud. And then the last video that's playing here is a QR code system. I've said to you, I've asked you to experiment with this anyway. Earlier on, I showed some slides that said, here's a QR code for SenseItAll, scan it on a QR reader on your smart device. When you've done that, then you can scan the other 4 QR codes I also have in the webinar, and you can see that you can actually change assay quite readily as well. The SenseItAll will work with all of our biosensors, so check out this link here. And just know that at ZP we are able to support things like soil health. I don't really, no, I think it's good to stay focused. This inquirer's asked about pH, so let's stay on pH. But things that ZP does think about are the things like the redox potential of soil. We do think about soil health in terms of the pH. I mean, that's in our list. Chloride is really more about salinity. Potassium is one of the nutrients. People talk about the NPK, the nitrate phosphate potassium panel. Calcium is a soil nutrient. The first time I kind of came across the interest in calcium was actually when somebody asked me about, well, we were talking about growing pineapples, and they were very interested in the calcium content there. And I realized that calcium in pineapples, I think, helps with the solidness of the fruit. It's possibly because calcium has a chelating agent. It helps to, as I say, make the fruit, I think, a bit firmer. Sodium, this is really linked to salinity. Phosphate, one of the key NPK panel, nitrate, phosphate, potassium. Nitrate itself, and ammonium. And I think ammonium and urea are important, because I think in the USA, I think they tend to put less nitrates down, and the source of nitrogen is ammonium and urea. TAS, total antioxidative status. ZP has a very mature sensor called TAS. So if people are interested in kind of knowing the oxidative state of soil, then I would definitely recommend our TAS sensor. So this particular inquirer is interested in pH. Stick to pH, because the more analytes you start analyzing, I mean, it might be interesting to you, but it's also kind of, you can get too much data, and it can give you more headaches than it solves. But TAS sensor is something that I do recommend, actually. Multiple sites, I did cover this last week, but this week I'm going to cover a single site. So if you've got multiple sites, then and if they're geographically quite spread out, then you will need a unit per site. It's probably just a quick comment that the big intention of these technologies is to help other people develop their own businesses around it. So just to say that these little single handheld units, if people are able to order them, and businesses will be able to do this, are able to order them in units of 10,000, so 10,000 meters. So we're able to do it at 60 euros each, which is really a no price, I would suggest, on the meters. So field testing. So I would suggest then, if you've only got one unit, then restrict yourself to testing at one location. So you can take the location, you can split it into plots like this. This photo is not random. This is actually taken by me when I was actually doing some soil work myself. And so I kind of imagine that you have a field, or you have a farm, and you've split it into plots. I've said here 1 to 18. The nice thing about the software is this picture is a bit blurry, so I've had to kind of say, look, if you're going to plot 1, that's the software will ask you what cluster name that is. And if you put P1 there, then that means that that name will make its way up to the database. So you're able to say, you're able to create a cluster for each plot. And then you can put the sample ID in, and you can put the operator ID. Similarly, if you've got when you're testing at plot 2, you can put P2 in there, ID, operator ID. When you're testing at P3, you can then put P3 into the software. And when you're testing at, let's say, P18, you can also put P18 into the software as well. So the nice thing about the system is that as you're collecting data, you are able to organize the data at the same time as well, which is kind of, when you're collecting a lot of data, this is quite a nice, neat feature. And then all the data will actually get posted. So if we're looking at cluster 1, this is in the Julie database. You'll have your sample ID up here. The nice thing is you have the time and date stamp on that sample. You have the operator ID as well. So lots of the, we call it metadata behind the actual data is also uploaded as well. So in summary, we do have a lot of sensors for soil health. We don't have a sensor on carbon capture. That's the kind of holy grail in some ways. You know, a sensor that measures carbon is kind of like, we definitely have ideas around it, but nothing that's validated at the moment. But if you're interested in soil health, I think pH is good. Also, our task sensor is interesting, but I would start with pH. And the nice thing about the software is if you're going to have a site with multiple plots, you don't have to have this flat list with all the data in one list. It will actually put it into what we call clusters, so that you can then go and look at plot 1, plot 2, plot 3, plot 18, etc. So I'll just put a quick thank you here. If you've got any questions about ZP, our SenseItAll platform, or monitoring soil nutrients or soil health, discussing carbon capture, then please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Okay, thanks very much.